Imagination is the seed of creation. You do not create without first seeing or hearing or imaging within you whatever it is that you are desiring or hoping to create. I said in a recent video that writing, when we begin, it is begun in silence. And when I said this, I was referring to this imagining. We first imagine in silence, in a state of relaxation, in a state of bringing ourselves to presence. Creating begins in the unseen, the unrealized, and in that space there is all potentiality. We are the author of our lives and our creations. In our creations, we direct, we initiate the act of making, which brings forth, manifests what we see, what becomes present, manifest in our lives. Writing and the writing life that you desire are manifestations of your imagination. And it is not hard to imagine that you are writing, or that you are a writer, or that you have the writing life that you desire. We imagine all the time. We do it all day long. We may call it dreaming or daydreaming or projecting. But even the simplest things, like we imagine situations, scenarios playing out in the future, in the near future and in the distant future. We imagine what we will make, for example, for dinner. And then we go to the store, we purchase the ingredients, we come home, and we make that dinner. Writing is no different than this. We imagine writing. We imagine being writers. We have to come to the page then and make the writing. We have to be, dinner doesn't get made without the act of making. So we have the imagining of writing, which many of us can do. But here is where so many writers or would-be creatives don't succeed. This is why devotion to writing exists. This is why I make these videos, to address the moment. This moment when we come to the page and we seize and we get blocked, or we feel doubt and fear and we stop writing. We arrest ourselves. So thank you for watching Devotion to Writing. This is a channel devoted to helping you cultivate a daily writing practice and realize that you are creative abundance, that you cannot help but being creative. And if you want to write, you simply need to surrender and write. And in this video, the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about what I often talk about, is how to overcome these doubts and fears that we encounter when we get to the page. So when we imagine making dinner, for example, we likely aren't confronted with self-doubt, right? We go to the store, we get the ingredients, we know what we want to make, we prepare the food at home. We don't have fear and doubt about it, or at least we don't have so much fear that we can't cook the meal and prepare it and serve it to our friends or our family. But with writing, and I have worked with hundreds of writers, hundreds of people who can imagine writing, but when they come to the page, or when it comes to getting to the page and starting, they have so much fear and doubt that this is so strong that they can't, either they start and can't finish, or they can't start at all. The very act of getting to the page is just so terrifying that they avoid it. And you may not recognize all the ways that you resist writing, right? But for me personally, the resistance came in ways like, oh, I don't have enough time, or I'm too tired, or I have to work. I don't have enough money. When I finally have enough money or time, or I don't have to work, then I'll write. These simply aren't true. These are just stories we tell ourselves. They're forms of resistance. So this inner voice, this resistance, this inner critic, that is what makes writing feel like torture. It's not that we can't write. It's not that we don't possess the ability. It's not that we can't imagine it. We can. All of us can imagine it. So this fear that we come with, this doubt that enters, we don't need this. It doesn't have to be there. It's just another inner story that we have, which also is imagined. It is created. It is a story that we have created. This fear, this doubt, this inner critic is just another story which we have created. This is what we have to change. The narrative that we aren't good enough. This is the narrative we start to change. It isn't difficult to imagine. It is natural to us. The idea that we can't, that we aren't good enough, are stories we have told ourselves, and they're simply not true. And once we see this, once we see that this is just a narrative, we can begin to imagine another story, another narrative of writing and of our writing life. We can imagine writing that is flowing. We can imagine being delighted by writing. We can imagine finding joy, finding fulfillment. We can imagine writing as seeding more and more abundance and creating more and more beauty, and imagine a life in which writing flourishes and nourishes us. Because we, in fact, need creative nourishment. We need to be nourished, nurtured creatively. We do this for ourselves. It doesn't come from outside. It's not going to come from, we might imagine that, oh, if I just got acceptance, if I just had an audience, if I just built a following, then I would have this creative nourishment. That's not where it comes from. The creative fulfillment comes from within. It is achieved when we act, when we make consistently, when we just give our creations, whether it's just give ourselves to the page daily, and that is enough, whether we give it and share it with others to read, whether we give it and read it to others, whether we send it in an email or post it on social media, we experience then this reciprocation of the energy, the completeness of this journey of our creations. So, for example, going back to the meal, when we feed our friends and family the food we have made for them and they are nourished by it, we feel fulfilled. We feel gratified, satisfied. This is the completion of our creativity, from imagining what we might make for dinner to serving the dinner and to seeing it being enjoyed. We receive fulfillment. So that is the key to writing. It is simple, but it takes practice and it takes some rigor. It takes us demanding that we get to the page, and once we are at the page, demanding that we get rid of this internal inner critic and write. We have to will ourselves to the page and write. And if you have doubt, you'll need to show up and write again and again until the doubt is overwhelmed by proof that when you sit to write, writing happens. This is devotion. Devotion develops the trust that when you come to the page, something happens and it flows. And when you come over and over and you set aside your fear and your doubt, you realize there was really nothing to be fearful of, really nothing to doubt, that your imagination is always sparking. It is a fire in you. You can't help but to imagine. Imagine what it's going to be like to go for a walk this afternoon. Imagine what it's going to be like driving to work this morning. Imagine what you're going to make for dinner. Imagine a conversation with someone in your family or a friend. We just imagine all day long, every day. When we focus our imagination, it becomes creativity. It becomes something we channel this energy into to create a work of art, to create beauty, to create a story, to create a poem, to create something that we've desired in a very positive way. We have enacted by our will and our attention and our love what we've imagined. And this becomes then, our imagination then becomes substance. It becomes matter. It becomes substantial. It exists. It is a thing that exists in the world for us and for others. So whether that's a meal or a poem or a novel or a painting or a dance or a piece of music, whatever it is, it has to first start inside, in the unmanifest, in the imagined invisible realm inside of you, and then by taking action, we bring it into being. You You are the fashioner of everything in your life. So stop doubting the seed of imagination and learn to trust yourself. Learn to trust this inner call, this voice, this vision that is in you. This is divine. And if it is saying write, please obey it. Get to the page. If you have been saying for many years, as I did for many years, say write, and I didn't, I know what that is like to live against oneself. It is like a river that is dammed. It can't flow. And I lived that way for too many years that I want to admit. That is suffering. So if something in you is saying write, by all means get to the page and set aside that doubt and just write whatever it is that comes. It is through you that the divine universe unfolds. It is through you that the divine unfolds. And if you clench in fear, and if you turn away in doubt, if you let your insecurity stop you, it stops the flow of creation through you. Or I shouldn't say it stops the flow. The flow still comes, but you distort it, you disfigure it with this clenching, with this holding, with this trying to control what is coming. You are an aperture, and that opening, every person is. And through this opening, which we are, creation pours into the world, and it appears. We manifest it. But when we clench, when we resist, when we have negative thoughts, when we have fear, when we doubt, we distort this energy that we are. We twist it, and it comes out in ways that are not necessarily healthy for us. That's a whole nother subject. All I'm saying in this video is get out of our way. We surrender. Surrender the fear we have. Surrender the doubt we have. It's not even important, this story that we have. We have to just set this story of, I can't, I'm not good enough, I don't have the ability, I'm not a writer, whatever it is that is clanging around in there. This isn't true. This is something that you imagined once or twice or 100 times, and you have made it seem very solid and real, but it is not real. In fact, writing is just a joyous expression of who you are. It is a flow of what is in you and around you. It is an energy. So come to the page. Come to the page today. Relax and just begin to write. And it doesn't matter what you write. Tune in to your imagination. You don't have to invent anything. Your thoughts, feelings, experiences, memories, dreams are all right there in you and accessible. These are these images, these imaginings in you. They are so, you are full of them. You can't not have them. Just keep that inner critic silenced. Just set it aside for the time that you are at the page. There is nothing for that voice to comment on. There is really nothing that it's going to change by commenting on how it's going, how the writing is, or whether it's good or not. Absolutely has zero relevance to your writing. Daily writing, the practice of daily writing, is going to help train you to silence that beast of the critic within. And I'd say, what is that voice anyway? It's just an imagined someone that you are listening to, that you have for some reason we have given this voice authority. But why? We might examine that in the writing itself. What is this voice, and what is it telling me, and why am I listening to it? As you do this, as you perhaps write into this, you will realize that this inner critic, this inner voice, is not real. It has no authority. It is your creation, albeit a pernicious one. So this week, here is the challenge for this week. Come to the page every day, 7 days, and write for at least 10 minutes. Does not matter what you write. Just get into the practice of sitting, getting your hand moving, letting your imaginings cover the page, letting yourself dream on the page, letting yourself experience the joy of the flow and the fulfillment of creating. And if you can write At the same time daily, this is helpful. This makes sense to me. It has helped me. It just makes it easier to be consistent and develop a writing habit. If I set a time and write at that certain time, I can put it into my schedule, and it just helps. I can build the rest of the day around my writing as opposed to trying to squeeze my writing into some part of my day. Every day you're making a good meal of writing if you do this. If you just sit and write and allow yourself to write, you are making a great meal. And this week, as part of the challenge, just maybe perhaps write your autobiography. 10 minutes a day. Begin telling your life story from the story of your birth until today. Tell it as a story or as fiction or as poetry. Doesn't matter what form it takes. Just pay attention to this narrative, a narrative. Tell anything, invent it. Pay attention to the creative moments in your life, to moments when you were doing what you loved, that when you felt joy, to moments when you brought something into creation, when you created a friendship or a picture, whatever it is that you imagined, when you fashioned something from what you imagined. Do it as a child, do it through your teen years, do it into your adult life. But build this, start as a way so you don't have to come to the page every day and think, oh, what am I going to write? Maybe this week, focus on writing your autobiography. Where do you come from? Where did you grow up? What is the story of your birth? What is your relationship to your creativity, to writing, to art? I hope this is helpful. I thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something from this video that can help you begin to come to the page and get rid of that inner critic and create, and start to create this writing life that you desire, that you are called to have. If you did like this video, please subscribe, share it with some friends. And if you need more support with your writing, visit devotiontowriting.com. There, that's the website. You can learn more about my workshops and retreats to help you devote yourself to writing and to realizing the creative power that you are. I hope you write today. I hope you write tomorrow. I hope you write every day this week. I know that if you do write, it will be beautiful, because beautiful is what you are. Blessings.